Are you or a loved one disabled? Do you feel alone, lost, and confused as to how to win your Social Security case? If you're watching this video, it's probably because you have so many questions and you're desperately looking for the answers. Hi, my name is Avi Leibovic, and I'm the owner at Benefits for All and the lead attorney at Avi Leibovic Associates. Over the course of my 20-year career, I've overseen the processing and screening of over 500,000 disability cases, working with the largest hospitals, neighborhood clinics, primary care physicians, and even individuals who had no access to care at all. My strategies for how to win the case have made me one of the top experts in Social Security law in the entire nation. My life and my career were going great. And then one day it all came crashing down. It started first with some abdominal pains. And before I knew it, I'd been admitted to the hospital several times and I required multiple surgeries. I found myself unable to work and disabled and in desperate need of my own benefits. I understand exactly how you feel. I was in your shoes. And I'm going to take you through the process and help you and give you everything that I know so that you can win your case. I'm recovered and I'm back at work. And I have a newfound passion for helping disabled people because I myself have been there too. Call our office today for a free screening and to see how we can help you with your Social Security case. At the same time, enjoy these videos and webinars that we've prepared to help you understand how to win your Social Security case. Hi, it's Avi Leibovic, and you're watching another one of the amazing, wonderful webinars by Benefits for All, which teaches you how to win your Social Security case without having to pay the cost of an expensive attorney. So here I am, Manhattan, right, New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it, bump, bump. Anywhere, it's up to you. New York, New York. Okay, so let's get into some Social Security disability. That's why you've gone ahead and you've purchased this webinar. Remember, all of these webinars are supposed to be studied and understood. You can sit home and watch them and have an understanding of what's going on, but really the truth is that you really need to watch series or several of the webinars so that you have a better understanding of the application process and all the eligibility criteria of the reconsideration process and all the eligibility criteria of the hearing process eligibility criteria. Every one of these webinars are designed to teach you something else. The title of this webinar is what you're going to need to have prepared for the Adult Disability Report, okay? So stand behind me, as many of you may realize, is the world famous Empire State Building. So I have a really funny, I thought it was funny, a really funny, interesting fact that you may not know. Okay, you guys ready for this? So the Empire State Building is, I'm referring to some notes here, the Empire State Building is 102 stories, right? But that's not what's interesting about it. What's interesting about this is that it says that construction began on the Empire State Building on March 17th, 1930. March 17th, 1930. That's when they started it. They broke ground. Let's just say March 1930. And when was it completed, the construction for 102 stories? April 1931. Beginning date was March 1930. Completed was April 1931. It took 13 months to build the Empire State Building. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that, well, that's not when they opened. Okay, well, they opened in May 1931. So you know what? From March 1930 to May 1931, so let's see, March to March is a year, April, May. 14 months to build that amazing building behind me, which has stood since 1930, 86 years. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that it's going to take longer to process your Social Security disability case than it takes to build the Empire State Building. And you know what? You're right. You can build an Empire State Building quicker than you can process, right, a Social Security application. Whether it's an application, whether it's a reconsideration, whether it's a hearing, you're going to have to go through that process. And you know what? It's probably going to take more than 13 months. So for those of you watching at home, we'll just keep this amongst us. For those of you who are watching who are maybe in a position to motivate and inspire change, to let people know, and you could use it in your workshops and seminars or budget presentations to the government, do you know that you can build the Empire State Building in shorter time than you get an application process? That's just something that a person has to wrap their brains around. 13 months, it's unbelievable. Okay, but what do I want to say and what do I want to link? We said the topic of this one is the materials you need to have for your adult disability report. So, you know, when you build a building, right? I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, but I'm pretty sure we would all agree. You got to submit all the plans to the city, right? You have to make sure that you have your engineering plans and your architecture plans and your electrical plans and your plumbing plans, and I don't even know what other type of plans and surveys, and you need to have all of the exhibits and everything stamped and certified and sealed and ready to go before what? Before they're going to sign off and they're going to give the okay to start building. If you're missing anything, then what happens? Your project, your real estate project that you're hoping to start on is just going to be dead in the water and stuck until what? Until you provide the material. So let's make sure, since it's my job to teach all of you how to quickly, efficiently, and effectively win your Social Security case, let's say you've gone ahead, you've seen enough of the webinars, and you say, you know what? I'm ready to go ahead and I'm ready to finally submit my application and get it started. Let's get it started before we submit it. What do I need to have, Avi? What do I need to have? So I'm going to tell you, we're going to go through a list of things really quickly. Let me list them for you, and this list will be available online as a resource that you can download, right? So it'll be available to you. So we're going to cover the categories of birth and citizenship and what you need to have, marriage and divorce and what you need to have, names and birth dates of children, which you need to have, U.S. military service, which you need to have, details about the employer, right? The employer that you've worked for and that you're currently working for the last 2 years. You're going to have information about self-employment. If you're working for yourself, some information regarding that. You need to have some information regarding direct deposit, right? And then you're going to have, of course, a list of your medical conditions. It's not enough to just say, ouch, ooh, ee, ah. You need to have a list of your medical conditions. Besides for that, you want to have handy information about your doctors and medical providers and hospitals and when you had dates of service. We're going to go through each of these in a minute. I'm just hitting the main categories. We're going to talk again about job history and then about education and training. So let's break it. Everyone's with me? We're ready to start the application. One of the forms you need to fill out is an adult disability application, right? So I'm now going to go through a list of topics that you need to have prepared and in front of you as you begin the process of completing this form. So let's get started. We said the first one had to do with citizenship and your birth records. So if you're born in the United States, that's terrific. We said if you're applying for SSI that it's very important that you have to meet, remember, a residency, a citizenship, an income, a resource, and a medical condition. We have all those categories that you have to meet and qualify in, and each one to check off a box so that you can go ahead and you can be found to be disabled. So if you're a citizen, even for SSI, right, it's not enough to just walk in and say, I'm a citizen, right, made in the USA, stamped on my head. No, you have to go ahead and you have to have a copy of your birth certificate. You have to have some way of establishing that you are who you are. Okay, so if you're a citizen, it's really easy. You just need to have a copy of your birth certificate showing that you were born in the United States. Now, if you are not born in the United States and you're born in another country, even if you're already a citizen, you became a citizen, you're still going to have a document that shows the name and birth of your country and your permanent resident card. You need to have your permanent resident card with you. It will ask information about your resident card. Don't begin this process and think I'm going to take care of it today and not have your information about your permanent resident card. You must have it all there. Okay, so let's keep going. And again, I'm losing notes here because it's an extensive list that we need to make sure, and I don't want to leave anything out. Marriage and divorce. I know it's 2016. Some people are married, some people are single. Some people, they're on their second, third, fourth, fifth, I don't know what marriage, and other people, they're in a domestic partnership. There's so many different ways of how we can look at this. But before you begin your adult disability report, you need to have, right, the name of your current spouse and or your prior spouse, right? That's if the marriage lasted more than 10 years or if it ended in death. So if your marriage lasted more than 10 years or ended in death, you need to have your name of your current spouse, of course the previous one before. You need to have your spouse's date of birth and your spouse's social security number. So if you're one of those people who are like, oh, I can't remember this, you know, I know their birthday, you want me to know their social security number? And the answer is, yeah, you need to have their social security number. It says it's optional, but I always encourage people to put it down so that there's no ambiguity and they have very clear that they know what they're looking at and they know who it is that you're associated with and they don't have to call or delay anything to ask for confirmation. They have all the information right in front of you. If you were married, you need to have the beginning and ending dates of those earlier marriages, right? You can't be foggy and say, well, you know, it was after high school, it was before college, or it was, you know, after this job and between that job. No, that's not going to work. You need to really be able to go ahead and give the dates of when you got married and the dates when you went ahead and you finished your marriage. The other place that you need to know is you need to know the place where you were married, right? You were either married in America, you were not married in America. If you're married in America, you're going to need some court documents showing a marriage license is a terrific idea. Alternatively, you might have some type of I've seen some religious ceremonies that were done, and they had a signature or something from a rabbi or a priest or whoever it was that went ahead, a reverend that did the services. They had some type of certificate or some type of marriage ceremonial document that would be included as well. So you need to have those, and it needs to show the place of your marriage, the city, the state, or the country if married outside the U.S. Okay, so we have it down. So we've knocked off citizenship, right? And we've also knocked off marriage and divorce. The next things we need to talk about is children. So if you have any children who became disabled before the age of 22, right? Or if you have any children who are under 18 and are unmarried, or they're 18 and 19 and they're still attending a secondary full school. So there's three categories here. If you have any children who are disabled before the age of 22, if there's anyone under the age of 18 who is unmarried, right? If there's anyone whose age is 18 and 19 and they're still in a secondary school, you need to have their names and the birth date. If you don't have the names and the birth date, you're gonna have a problem. So you have to make sure that you have all that, again, before you sit down, okay? Military service, if you're in the military, what type of duty did you do? What branch were you in? And they're gonna want your service period dates again. All this is gonna be essential, and most probably at some point, if you receive some type of medical treatment while in the services, we're going to go ahead and we're going to request that medical records. But for purposes of the adult disability report, you definitely need to have the branch that you were in, like I said, the dates and service periods and the type of duty that you did. Just a footnote for those people who were in the military, I first want to say thank you very, very much for all of your service. If it wasn't for you, we would not have the privilege, the real privilege of being able to go ahead and live in the United States, which is really the greatest place on earth where a person can live, where they're able to go ahead and practice their religious rights, and they have their justice system in place, and there's a democratic process where you can go ahead and elect people. It's a tremendous place, and all those people in the military, we thank you very, very much for your sacrifices and for your time and for your service. I also want to say that if you think that you have a claim for disability as a veteran, you need to seriously consider calling our office and making sure that you've tapped out or tapped into all the resources that are available by the Veterans Administration. You may have a perfectly good VA disability claim, but you won't know that until when? Until you go ahead and you call our office and we talk about it and we see what's there together. Okay, so we went through the military. Employer dates for the current period and the prior 2 years. You know, some people when they leave their last job, they're just like, I'm out of here, I hate it, I want to wash it from my mind. I never want to think of that place again. It's horrendous. And you know what? I hear you. I understand why you would want to wash it from your mind. But you know what? For purposes of this, they're looking at earnings, they're looking at skill sets, they're looking at time of employment, dates last insured, they're looking at onset date. These are all concepts that we've talked about in different webinars, so familiarize yourself. Remember, an onset date is when your disability began. It's very important that you weren't working during the time period that you said your disability began, because then you can't be disabled, right? If you're earning substantial gainful activity, substantial gainful competitive income is coming in, you're not disabled, right? So before you go ahead and you say your employers and employers, think through, make sure you have your dates lined up correctly with what? With your alleged onset date, otherwise you're gonna have a big problem. Anyway, so for those people who hated your job and hated your experience there and you wanna wipe it from your mind, you're gonna have to go and find a pay stub. You're gonna have to go and you're gonna have to verify exactly the employer name, the dates that you started and ended with your employee, and the total earnings, wages, and tips. Those are the main pieces of information. So what do you do if you've had 2 or 3 jobs? You try to get a pay stub to have all that information on the 2 or 3 jobs. You're going to do the best that you can. If you find that you're not able to find a pay stub, I hate to do this, but you really, again, if you want it done right, you got to pick up the phone, or you got to go to Google, you got to call the operator 411, then you got to say, hey, I need the telephone number for this and this store, or this and this place of employment. And you're going to have to call and say, hey, even if you want to talk to the boss because you don't like the boss, hey, remember me? I used to work for you. Listen, I need you to look in maybe your human resource department or your books. I need you to please tell me what dates did I start, what dates did I end, and I don't remember when I started how much money did I make, and when I finished how much money did I make. You kind of have to have that down. It's only going to help your case, and it's going to provide, again, clarity so that your case can be processed as effectively and as efficiently and as quickly as possible. Remember, we have a little private joke running between just me and you at home, right? What's our private joke running? The trick is, what's going to take longer, to build an Empire State Building, which was done in 13 months, opened in 14 months, or to process a Social Security application? Build the Empire State Building, process a Social Security application. Which one takes longer? Shh, don't tell anyone that the Social Security application takes longer, right? I think some of the politicians would be embarrassed and they would hide their head, all right, if they understood that you can build the entire Empire State Building in that time. So let's keep going, right? We've taken care of your birth certificate and your citizenship. We've taken care of your marriage and divorce papers. We've taken care of your dates of your children who might be disabled, who are under 18 or living at home. We have all that information, right? If you're not good with birthdays and stuff, you got to look them up. We've made sure with our military that we have all the information that we need. We've gone ahead now, we've talked about employer details, and you're going to have to go ahead and provide all the details that you need. What's the next category? Direct deposits. Now, what's with the direct deposits? Well, on one hand, they're going to go ahead and they're going to want to, perhaps go ahead and deposit some of the money into your account. Once you go ahead and choose it, you'll have an opportunity to decide if you want to take the checks in a cash payment, so to speak, in a check form, or if you want to go ahead and you want to deposit that into your bank account. But really what's going to happen is they're going to want also at some point, just so you know, they are going to be looking into your resources. Remember, income is money that comes in, resources is property that you have. They're going to want to be able to look at your bank accounts, and they will look at your bank accounts to verify that you have in the bank as much as you say that you have in the bank, and not that you have all these other accounts that you don't know about, right? So unless you're hiding your money in your backyard, or you're stuffing in your mattress, which no one should do, right? Or unless you're opening up bank accounts in different names, Social Security is going to want to run your bank accounts that you have in every financial institution in the United States, and they're going to match it up against your Social Security number. So you need to be able to prepare to have your name of your bank, the account number, right, and have the routing number on hand so that they can go ahead and they can do that. Not everyone knows their account number by heart. Your checking account number, you may have to look at the bottom of your check, right, those digits on the bottom of your check over there, or you may have to call the bank. But you're going to want to have all this before you sit down and you sit at the computer, or you sit with a pen and paper, you do the adult disability report. One way or another, they have to get it, right? This sounds long and this sounds tedious, but remember, the average fee for an attorney is anywhere between $2,800 and $3,200. You're saving yourself all of this money by doing this work, okay? So if you're taking it seriously and you think that you can handle it, it's a very, very big payoff. Let's keep going. We said after your bank account, the next thing you need to have is they're gonna want a contact of someone who they can contact who knows your condition, is familiar with your claim. And some people put a spouse, some people put a family member, sometimes their son or daughters are taking care of them. Often you may have a social worker at a clinic, at a homeless shelter, a hospital worker who is very involved in the process and is your advocate. So you want to go ahead and put them down as the contact, because Social Security may not be able to reach you. They want to have them. They'll also ask for an emergency contact later on, but they want to be able to have them. And not only that, it's very important that you're able to understand that these are information, again, that you're going to need to have before you go ahead and before you begin the process. Of course, the medical conditions. That is very important. Listen, if all you know is bad back, right, can't stand, ouch, you could write that, but it's not really going to help your case, right? Because they're assuming that for the most part, by the time you're filing an application, you've already seen a doctor, you've already been given a medical diagnosis, you know your symptoms, and you're very clear on what you think your disability is. You are very clear on what your disabling medical condition is, right? So if you just say lower back, okay, fine, you can write that. I mean, if that's what you can do, that's what you can do. But if you have down that it says, like, you know, something with your spine, right, spondylosis or whatever, then you can go ahead and if you have a rupture, if you have a pinched nerve, if there's something there, you should go ahead and you should be able to have that symptoms down and have the name, proper prognosis down, and proper diagnosis down, so you can go ahead and you can present it. Okay. Of course, like we said, and if there's several conditions, you need to have all the conditions down. You'll be able to list them at that time. Name of your doctors, name of your healthcare professionals, hospitals and clinics. This is so important. Why is this important? Because you want the Social Security to request your medical records, right? You want to get paid, you want to win. So if you want that to happen, they need to request your medical records. How are they going to request your medical records? They request it by, going to the provider, the medical provider. Was it a doctor? Was it a clinic? Was it a hospital? Now there's so many different types of hospital. Let's say someone went to a St. Mary hospital, right? Or a children's hospital. You should know that you can't just write children's hospital, because there might be a children's hospital of this city, or a children's hospital of that city, or a children's hospital of this city, or there might be a St. Mary of this, and a St. Mary of that, and a St. Mary of this. You need to know which branch, which hospital you see the service in, so that way when Social Security needs to make the request for medical records, they know exactly from which hospital they need to send it. So don't just write the first name of the hospital. Make sure you have the complete name of the hospital. If you're able to call the hospital and receive the exact address and telephone number and contact information for the medical records department, even better, right? So that way they know exactly where to submit the request to, and there's no problems over there. So you need to have, like we said, the name and addresses and phone numbers, and the patient ID numbers if you have them, and the dates of the examinations or any type of tests. You can't just say, yeah, I had an MRI. You need to know what date was your MRI and which hospital did you take it at, or which clinic, outpatient place did you take it at. Yeah, I had an EKG. Where did you have the EKG? When did you take it, right? If you don't say where it is, they're not gonna be able to find it. They're not gonna be able to find it, okay? The other thing that you need to have with you is not just that you had medical tests, but that you know the names of those medical tests. There's a lot of different, a stress test is one type of medical test. It may have a more defined name because there's different type of stress tests. You need to try to be clear on what it is that you have if you're not sure. Again, there's two ways to go about everything. You can either just kind of like try to tap dance your way through it and kind of fudge it and squirt some whipped cream on top and just hope like they don't really ask too many questions. Or you can pick up the phone, you can call the doctor and say, hey, remember when I came there 12 months ago, I took this test, what was the name of that test again? Okay, what was the exact date of that? Now when you're ready to sit and do the adult disability application, the form, you have all the information that you need. And medications, names of the medications and things that you use to help you, whether they're prescribed or not prescribed, even if you buy them over the counter, meaning like a Tylenol or something like that. You want to have, as best as you can, the names and the milligrams, and they may ask you, it'll say, for what? For what are you taking for? Oh, this one I take for the high blood pressure, and this one I take for the heart. You need to know what it is, but the main thing is the names. I know some of these have long names. I know some of these are difficult to have and spell out, and it's just so much work. But again, you're saving money because you're not paying an attorney to do this, right? You're saving a lot of money, right? So have those now, have those medication bottles next to you so when you're ready to do the application, you have all the information that you need. If there's any other information about where medical records could be, whether it be in a jail, right? Whether it be a prison, maybe the welfare office or the workers' comp office or workers' comp attorney, they may have records that we need to see, and they may have records that are going to win your case. So you can't leave out when you're talking to an attorney in the same way you wouldn't leave out, oh yeah, by the way, you remember I told you I'm filing for disability because my back is hurt? Well, that came about because of a car accident that I had while I was on the job a year ago. When I had a car accident on the job a year ago, oh, I had a whole big workers' comp claim and I got all this money. Hello? An attorney would need to know that information so they know where to request the medical records and they can study it. So the same thing with you, since you're now your own attorney, you're your own advocate. You have to ask these questions for yourself and you have to be prepared to say, yes, I had a workers' comp claim, there's medical records here. I was in jail or prison, the medical records are here. There was some type of other insurance that I applied for or whatever it was, and the information is over here. You need to have all that information, and once you have that, it's very, very important and you're ready, good to go. Okay, it's also important to note that if you have had an attorney at one point, even if you dropped the attorney, you felt that you wanted to handle this on your own, and I encourage you that if you drop an attorney midway through the process, make sure, this is a gold nugget, your whole case, your whole video webinar might be worth it just based on this one tip. If you didn't call your attorney when you withdrew and said, hey, I want a letter withdrawing fees and discharging the fees, you better call them back up and you better say, hey, can I get a letter waiving the fees? That's the correct word. I want to waive the fees. I want you to waive the fees. The attorney will say, well, I put work in. Did you win the case? Did you not win the case? Right? If you don't have a fee waiver from the attorney, right, what's going to happen is it may result in something called a fee petition where you're going to have to write out all the hours and you have to write a long letter and you have to explain to either the district office or to the ODR or to the judge what this attorney did that got you upset and what they didn't do. It's a whole story that's going to require a lot of your time. On the other hand, if you go ahead and you get a fee waiver letter, then what? All the money's going to be yours. You're not going to have to give any to that, let's say, bum attorney or that lazy attorney that you hired. It's all going to be your money. But you need to get the fee waiver form. Until you have that, their fee waiver, their fee agreement is still in the file. And once you get approved, they're going to have that money directly deposited to them. So make sure you get that fee waiver and make sure you submit a copy of that fee, not to hold on to your records. You submit it into the district office, you make sure the worker has it, and you call them and you say, hey, did you get that fee waiver? You have it in? Okay, so if I win my case, that judge, that attorney doesn't get paid, right? Right, you see, these are all gold nuggets that an attorney would know to do. Unless you're watching this webinar, or if you shut it off before and you said it was boring, but if you made it this far, you should give yourself a pat on the back, because I just told you about a fee waiver form that you must get from your other attorney. Otherwise, your attorney's gonna get the money, and you didn't even like him or her, you dropped them. Okay, so anything else that's important? Your job history. We talked a little bit about job history of your current one and your last 2 years, but what you're really gonna wanna know is, they're gonna wanna know at some point how the medical condition began to affect your work. Okay, we know you had bad knees, we know you have a heart, we know
you have difficulty with depression, whatever it is. They want to know how did this disability affect your job performance? They're going to want to know when, the date, remember the onset date, when. And it's okay to say I had the medical condition that started in January and I tried to work with it from January, February, March, and April, but by April, that was it, I couldn't work anymore. So your onset date is not January because you were earning money from January, February, March, and April, or January, February, March, but April 1 might be your onset date. You can just say, listen, I told my boss at the end of November, March, I can make it to the end of March, but April 1, I'm done. So you need to have that, and that would be an onset date. They want to know the type of jobs, 5 jobs that you had in the last 15 years, before you became unable to work for your medical condition. 5 jobs. Now some of you may have said, I've never had a job because I've never worked. Then fine, then you write, NA, not applicable. Some of you say, well, I never had a job because either my husband took care of me, or my wife took care of me, or my son took care of me. Then fine, then you write that. Some of you may say, I had 1 job all my life, and that's fine, you can write that too. And others of you may have had 10 jobs, but you know what, they only want the last 5 jobs. So you're gonna list out the last 5 jobs, and you want to know again, when did you start, when did you end, when was your income, what did you do? And what Social Security is using this for is they're trying to determine your skill set and what type of skills that you have. After all, you're saying that you're disabled, right? But what skills do you have? Are you a clerk? Are you a salesperson? Are you someone who has some type of special mathematician skills, or perhaps some carpentry or sewing skills, or some type of bookkeeping skills? These are all things Social Security wants to know, and it's before they say, we find you disabled, they have the right to ask in the last 5 years, what other jobs have you had? Because they want to know if there's some other job that they can find in the national economy that you can handle. Okay, so you need to have the dates, you need to have the jobs in the last 5 years, the dates you worked at those jobs, and the type of jobs you did the longest. You would say making telephone calls to customers, stocking the shelves, building cabinets, construction, electrical work. You want to have that down, they're going to want to know that. And of course, education and timing, we're coming to the end, the education and the timing here. It's so important for Social Security to understand what your capabilities are, how you communicate, how well you can read and write English, right? It's terrific that you can read and write another language, right? I've had a lot of clients who are American citizens. I don't know how they passed the Pledge of Allegiance and all the other questions because they can't seem to speak a word of English now, but I guess someone obviously tested them and they passed and they got their citizenship, congratulations. But I've met people who can't, speak English, yet they're citizens. It's great that you speak another language and you could talk about that at different points, but they want to know English. And that's all determined on your education. Some people coming from countries where children start to work at 8th grade, 6th grade, some cases in Mexico. Other people, no, in our country they have education all the way through. So you're going to want to know, of course, the highest grade that you completed in school. Was it 8th grade? Was it 12th grade? Did you do 2 years of college, 4 years of college? You have a specialty school? You want to know exactly the date that you completed it all. You want to have the name of the school that you went to, of course, and you want to have the city and state and the date that maybe you received your diploma, your certification. And if there's any other special job training that you had, management training, advanced sales training, you want to have the names of that as well, or especially if you went to another type of specialty school. So there you have it, my friends. We sit in Manhattan, beautiful evening, beginning of the fall, October 2016. We're coming out of last 10 years of 9/11. We've watched how they've gone ahead and they built the Freedom Tower and they rebuilt that and how quickly that took to build. In some cases that might be quicker than the 48 months that it took to go from application even to district court or appeals council. But right now we're in front of the Empire State Building. It's a little bit behind us, but that's okay. We're over here. We can see enough of it, right? And maybe I'll go up to the top one and talk about a different type of webinar from the top that they'll let me. But for right now it's over there. But it took 12 to 14 months, depending on how you count it, from the time that they broke ground till the time that it opened up, right? 14 months. Is it taking our own U.S. government, the own Social Security Administration, more than 14 months to just review an application? I mean, come on. You build a whole Empire State Building in 14 months. You can't review an application? What's going on over here? Is the system broke? Yes, the system is broke. It is so broken. It is so broken. You're paying the attorneys primarily because of their legal knowledge, yes, right? They have special training and special skills, and they've been down this road, and they've seen the problems, they can trouble spot them and solve them. That's why you pay the attorney. But you're also paying the attorney to have someone in his office call and call and call and call and follow up and introduce themselves and make sure that the records are being received and that they're being requested and that they're being that they have everything. So now that you have decided that you want to represent yourself and you don't want an attorney, you have to say to yourself, okay, first of all, do I understand, do I understand, do I understand, do I understand, right? Special knowledge that the attorney has, do I have that? If you do, terrific. The second thing is, am I ready to move forward and request the medical records on my own? Am I ready to move forward and get all the information that, that I just spoke about above, whether it's information relating to marriages or jobs or education or doctors or whatever it is? Are you ready to do that and get that information? If you are, get out your paper, get out your pencil, start recording the information down, download the checklist that's provided as a resource, and awesome, you're ready to go. You just have to get the information together, fill out the adult disability report, and then boom, 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 boom. Call up, call up, call up. You cannot expect them to do it on their own. You have to kind of like a rope. You gotta navigate them. Oh, let me make sure you requested that medical record. Oh, you forgot. Oh, it's a good thing I called you. Yeah, okay. Oh, did you get those medical records in the other place? I called them. They were going to email. Let me check. Oh, they didn't get it again. Yeah, they didn't get it. Call up again. Make sure you got it. Okay, so we're all on the same page. I really do look at it as an honor that you trust me to give you the basic skills and the basic tools that you need to complete this SSI, SSDI, or both concurrent SSI and SSDI process on your own. I know it's hard for you, I know it's scary, and I know that you don't feel well. It is easier to hire an attorney, and if you feel that you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Maybe for some people they need to focus on their health and their well-being, and that's just like kind of enough. That's like what they can handle during the day, and that's okay. But if you feel like, no, I'm not feeling well, but I have the time to do this, and I have the personality to do this, and I have the determination to do this, and I have the willpower to do this, and I know my way through the administrative maze because I got that, Avi Leibovic guy who's driving around the country filming himself in the middle of nowhere, right? I have this Avi Leibovic guy who's telling me everything I need to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Now some of the steps will take a minute. Some of the steps will take 10 minutes. Some of the steps, like this step here, getting all that information, that's gonna be a little bit like a, like one of those annoying steps that like, oh man, I gotta get the name of my medications, I gotta get the name of my doctors and the dates and the jobs and the this and the that, no, forget it. Yeah, it's gonna be a little hard. But you know how much money you're gonna save? You know how much money you're gonna save? This 45 minutes is like you're having a one-on-one consultation with an attorney. You understand that, right? You understand, what a regular attorney would charge you? Okay, take a regular attorney, then you understand what an attorney, let's say someone like me who has represented tens of thousands of applicants over the years. Tens of thousands of applicants over the years. You understand how valuable this information is? And I'm happy to give it to you. I don't say that in an egotistical way. I say it in a very humble way, in a very grateful way. But because we are short on time and because you don't know me and I have to build a rapport with you and I have to very quickly, show you that I know my stuff and I'm going to help you win. I can't guarantee that you're going to win. I cannot guarantee you win because I'm not a doctor. I haven't physically examined you and I haven't looked at your medical records. But I'm telling you that as an attorney, these are the steps that you need to do to win. If you do this, you're going to be golden, right? I can't promise you're disabled because I know your medical condition, but I can tell you that your application will not get kicked back because you're missing something, or your paperwork will not get delayed because they were waiting to receive something. At least I know that I did my job of teaching you what exactly it is that you need to do. Okay, with that in mind, come check out New York. If you've never been here, there is nothing, the city that never sleeps. It's an unbelievable place. It's an unbelievable place. It's just unbelievable. There's no way. You have to come. The food, the people, the electricity in the air. Only Manhattan can offer that, right? There's something to be said about other parts of the United States as well. The forests, or by the beaches, or the deserts, the Rockies, and different things. They all have their own environment and their own makeup and their own, settings and stuff like that, which make each one special on their own. But Manhattan, right? Serious business over here. You got to come check it out. Once again, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you feel better. If I can help, give a call to our offices, www and Benefits for All. If you feel that it's too much and you want one of our attorneys to come in and help you out with your hearing or get involved in the case, we're on top of it and we're very, very happy to do it. So www and Benefits for All. Once again, I'm Avi Leibovic, and I look forward to learning with you again and teaching you some strategies and some gold nuggets and how to win your Social Security case on the next webinar. Download them, check them out, tell your friends, save money, become educated. You can do it, all right? And Benefits for All the best.